So, and we have Asiya here who will be doing this. She's put together this really amazing, study of trees of Hyderabad. And Asiya is an old friend of mine. And one thing I would like to, tell you all is never go on a trek with her. I repeat this mistake very often, and each time we are dragged down by saying, wait, this tree, this shrub, that plant. When Azam and I are looking at the bird, she's more interested in looking at the tree that the bird is sitting on. So she's completely obsessed by trees. I hope the obsession stays. And she has, taken a fair amount of deep study here. She's been inspired by trees of Delhi as well, I guess. So just stay and enjoy yourself. It's really an amazing presentation coming up.
Well, thank you, Farhan. And like he said, I'm not actually academically qualified to give a talk on trees. But yes, the obsession is there. And it's really difficult to know or to point out why the obsession exists. Actually, I think when I think back, the earliest memories that I have somehow revolved around trees, Be that plucking guavas during our childhood, or I don't know, stealing jamuns from the neighbors' trees, or climbing on the mango trees to tell stories to my siblings, mostly from Chandamama and Tinkle. No, I think Tinkle was not there then. And making tents underneath banyan trees and mango trees. And most banyan trees, of course, we always got ominous warnings not to go there in the evenings, especially the girls with the hair left open. And though the grandmoms told us why the people and the banyan trees were revered, but you always got this cave emptor after that. Of course, the morning, it was completely different. The banyan tree had a very different story to tell, totally inhabited by various birds, be they mynas, parrots. And we also searched for the elusive hornbill because I had read that Ruskin Bond in Mussoorie had a hornbill resident in his banyan tree. I heard they do exist in banyan trees of Hyderabad, but I have yet to see one. And of course, the gulmohar tree, very beautiful. Unfortunately, they shed the leaves in summer, someone told me, but the flower display that they show, blazing reds from light oranges to dark oranges, is a sight not to be missed. And the neem tree, of course, all of us are familiar with. The leaves, the flowers that we use for the Gadi Pachadi. And the neem tree happens to be the state tree of Andhra Pradesh. And now we are rediscovering the uses of neem tree, the leaves, the oil, that is used as organic fertilizers, now that organic farming is the in thing. And I suppose people don't really realize that's what we all did a couple of years back. And next slide. Yeah. Actually, the other thing about the banyan trees, actually, this photograph is about the avenue that we would have seen, rather, when we were kids on our way to Gandipet. Those trees don't really exist. Now you have to go all the way to almost reach Evella or Vakharabad to see this now. And those roots that are hanging, we used to be hanging on them, me, Tarzan, you, Jane kind of antics. And but I suppose the kids now are really deprived. And the fruits, the red ones that I'm sure most people would remember them, flushy, round, lovely red when they are in fruit. And so that is what most birds relish. The fruit itself are actually containers, the figs, okay? They are containers for all the three types of flowers. I mean, three when you say you have the male flower, the female flower, and what's called the gall flower. Now, the gall flower is what actually attracts, or it is the food for the fig wasp. Actually, it's very interesting when you see this tree, like, for all the trees that I've chopped down, people will not really understand the symbiotic relationship between an insect and a tree. The fig wasp actually lays its eggs inside the fig, and the larva then eat the gall flowers. And when it tries to come out, if you've noticed the fig, even the one that we eat from Barkas nowadays, they have a slight opening in the top, right? So that's from where the wasp tries to come out, and as it's coming out, that's where the pollen is concentrated. This pollen is dusted on its wings and its antlers. And on its way out to the next fig on the next tree, it again goes to lay eggs now, right? So as it enters again a new fig, but entering is not as easy as exiting the fruit. So on its way in, it sometimes loses a wing or leg, but it again deposits the pollen onto the fig. And that's how they get pollinated. Now you see the relationship between the fig wasp and the banyan trees or all other ficus trees. If you transplant this tree into another more tropical area or other areas where the fig wasp would not grow, you will have a tree, but there will be no further new plants coming up because there's absolutely no way of getting pollinated. So that's about it. I'll go next. Again, the earlier memories I have is of the currant tree. This was the few months and I used to end up early in school. That was when the currant tree was in flower. You see, the most trees I actually, like you said, I also grown up in the Secunderabad cantonment area. And that's why I think I was fortunate enough to see so many trees around, which we really took for granted. And now we realize, you know, how lucky we were. This currant tree was really huge. They were in this MCH park that I used to cross on my way to school. And if we go early in the morning, these lovely, beautiful, light pink flowers, white to light pinkish flowers, would be strewn like a carpet on the path. And I wanted me to be the first one walking in it, you know. So that's the reason I used to be very early to school on those. It was beautiful. And the tree was actually so huge that I never even realized. And the trees in those days were so closely, you know, planted. So I wasn't even really sure that which tree the flowers belonged to. Because very later in life, I knew it was a currant. And that too, I think, because now they're replanting, thankfully. Currant is one of the trees that are being replanted. Because most of these older trees have not been replanted now. So I see them 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, and now I realize, oh, these flowers belong to the currant. Yes, yes, thank you. That's very true and lovely. When the new leaves come, they are beautiful, and they really look a sight to be watched. And the next, of course, the cork tree. Straggly, long trees, mostly grown in clumps, but they had these lovely, fragrant, long tubular flowers, which used to be woven, you know, to make garland or to be worn in the hair. The cork tree gets its name because of the spongy, not a very superior or inferior quality sponge that is got from the trunk of its trees. The next one. The babool is another tree that we had seen was quite often seen around our place. The fascinating part about the babool is a small yellow kind of, you know, the thorns that you can see. But these trees were mostly grown as boundaries around crops and all. And again, you will say now in Secunderabad, yes, but Secunderabad was quite a farmland area, and we had most of these as boundaries around our places. The next one is something on babool, I forgot. Next little bit. The jungle jalebi again, these huge trees we used to have. Another one very famous for our stone pelting. And, you know, not very, very bland fruits, but we used to enjoy it at that age. And a lovely shape, twisted. And I think for years I didn't see them again. But very recently on the Krishna Road, they've been selling it for rupees 300 a kilo. They are now exotic fruit. Jungli jalebi for sale opposite KO. The trees are hard to find. You can still find them somewhere in the cantonment area. Next one. Next one. The dhak tree now again has been relegated to the outskirts of town, and they usually do grow tall, but they again cut down, again just to make boundaries on farm area. But why we love this tree was because the flowers actually, when you see, they're pea-shaped, but they have this claw-like. So when it's totally in flower, this picture is actually not a really good and clear one. But when it's totally in flower, it does look like the forest is on fire. And that is why the name, it's also called the flame of the forest. The flowers actually of this tree were used to make a dye. For Holi that we used to use, the orangish color dye is actually made for dhak flowers. Again, now coming into, you know, a lot of things because of organic dyes for Holi, dhak is again now in the news. And I think a dye also is formed, like Ragini, or I don't know if I'm confusing. Sorry. Yeah, actually an insect also it produces, the shellac, जो लाख कहते हैं, that also comes from this tree, and it's called rangini, and that's another for tribals and all that. This is what used for the product. The earlier ones were really huge, huge trees, and the flowers is a wide variety of the colors. 5 petals, this is the usual one, this Plumeria rubra, white one with yellow throats, but the colors range from light pink to dark pink, and newer varieties are coming out now. Next elevator. But these 2 trees that I would really like to talk about. Trees which actually even the earlier trees, you know, we don't realize are not actually native indigenous to India. But they have become, and we are so used to seeing them around for so much, we can't think they're all native trees. But I would like to mention the Baobab tree because it has a connection to Hyderabad, and when you mention Hyderabad, it sort of comes up. There are 5 to 6 specimens around Hyderabad city, but the most famous one is the Hatyan tree in Golconda fort. Again, like most trees, let me tell you, all my trees come with riders. If I have mentioned where I saw them, you may have to see them in a day or 2 because I cannot tell you that they still exist there. The Hatyan tree, like we used to visit when we were kids around the Golconda fort. It's a huge tree, I think 27, 28 feet, the girth of the tree. The tree, actually the Baobab tree is a uniquely engineered trunk. And if you notice, the trunk is really huge and it has really small branches suddenly growing on the top of the trunk. Okay? Now the Hatyan ka jhad used to have, it was really hollow and had a huge cave, almost like a room-like. And we could even climb on the tree. But now, unfortunately, later on they had even fenced it up, so there was no entry. But now they have even closed the entry road to the tree. So unless you are a member of the golf course that has come up, there's no way you can see the Hatyan jhad. So as you see, it's after all a tree, right? Golf takes precedence. Who wants to waste time watching a tree? I'd rather be playing golf. So that is why, again, like I said, the obsession with trees is a bit difficult to understand, I guess. Yeah. All right. Oh, really? Oh, you were lucky. But that, like you said, the fence had come up. But now they've closed the entrance to the road itself. For the Kaman, where you enter the road to the Hatyan tree, the road itself has now had a police picket. Because there's some legal case going on because the golf course is claiming the land as theirs. And yes, the Seva Lake Society is trying to get the land back. So till the thing comes about. But luckily, this is another specimen. This is at Attapur. It's opposite pillar number 162, I think, the entrance. And this tree is very much, well, this also is a pretty huge girth. It's 21, 22 feet in diameter. You can go and see this tree. Just take the road opposite. It goes. There's one AP, I think, zoological department board there. Just follow it. On the right, you can look at this tree. The flowers, again, are very beautiful. Huge flowers, upside down. But no fruits, because absolutely no chance of pollination. And next one. Yeah. The other tree is the very common tamarind tree. A tree very, very common to Hyderabad. And again, apparently, it's not a native tree. But it has been so many years, for years, in India. So it so happened when the Arabs first landed, they named it Tamare Hind. That means the date of India, right? So the name has stuck. And even in the Swiss name, it's called Tamarandus indica. So more proof that it's an Indian tree. And the fruit, of course, we all know is tartish. I mean, there's no Hyderabadi worth the salt who can do without his khatti dal. And then the chuguru that we all use in our dishes, right? I remember making this chuguru curry once and inviting a friend from UP. And she really liked it and then asked, okay, so what's the bhaji in this? And I told her tamarind leaves and she looks and tells me, hamare paas to ye bakriyan bhi nahi khati. But that's a Hyderabadi for you. This is a special tree, but the specialty of this tree is, if you look, this is at Usmania Hospital. It's right next to Musi River. Yes, it used to be a river once, that small thing which looks like a nala. And it's really difficult to believe, in 1908 it had flooded. And it was such a huge flood that 80,000 houses were totally wiped out. That was 1/4 of the population at that time was completely wiped out. There were 3 bridges, the Afzal and the Chadar Ghat that we still know of was totally wiped out. But the plus point was that the floods were the reason that the city was redesigned. Mr. Vishwesharya from Mysore was called, so that a better city could be designed and it could be made larger, so that for future floods, the city could be saved. And the Usman Sagar and the Himayat Sagar were then made to contain the waters of Musi River in case the floods reoccurred. Which actually, in fact, just I think couple of days when the rains were a lot, we did hear the Musi was in flood. Of course, not in Hyderabad, but somewhere further down the state. So it is surprising, but this Nala somewhere goes and joins other tributaries to actually become a full-fledged river. And this tree, but why is it special if you can see, during the floods of 1908, 20th September, it had rescued 150 people on its branches. All the people who had climbed the tree, were saved. And this tree still stands. 1908, 2013, please do your mathematics. And like I said, the trees, of course, were being chopped for various reasons, be it road widening. Now we have the metro, all of us want it, more trees go down. And like I said, the other reason why I'm telling you trees, today they are that, now you see them, now you don't, because when I had gone to do this presentation, I was again going around charting out where I see what tree. And we had gone to public gardens, and then just a couple of days back, I was there, and there is this whole median in front of the police control room missing. And I'm like, where is the divider, and what about the row of trees on it? It does not exist, there's not a stone, there's not a tree branch, tell you. And the sad part is the trees on it at the Urbu Impregna, which would have been in flower right now, beautifully with the purple trumpet flower would have been in bloom now. They could have waited for a month, at least they have had her last swan song the trees could have done before they were chopped, but of course, they were just trees. And this is when urban forestry was restarted by Naidu, I think actually he was the one who really started replanting trees. But I don't know who was made in charge and on what basis they chose the trees. Copperpot, Peltophorum pterocarpum is one. If you hit a tree in Hyderabad, 98% time they'll show it's a copperpot. It's everywhere, anywhere, everywhere you want to stay, this is a tree you will not miss. But luckily for us, it's a beautiful tree. The flowers are really beautiful. You can see them in spikes, yellow, lovely yellow, and they're crinkled flowers with a slight brown, coppery, rusty centers. And then the name it gets is because the fruit, the pods are copper and in clusters, and they continue staying there for a very long time. The next, and these trees are interplanted with another tree, which is the same Peltophorum, but Africanum. Take the next one, Mari. These trees are very difficult to distinguish between the two. They have similarly double-feathered, imli-like leaves. So I suppose when they were planting and they were not in flower, they just interplanted them with the Peltophorums. The flowers look very similar, again in tall clusters, in spikes. But the difference being, these are more pale yellow. The earlier ones were dark yellow with copper centers. And the buds also of the earlier one were also rusty colored. These continue to be lighter green. And their pods are very different. They're bean-like clusters. So when you see them in flower or when you see the seeds, you can able to distinguish from the two. Next slide. Next is Saptaparni. This is another tree which has now become quite common on avenues. Road number 45, Jubilee Hills, is a whole row of these Saptaparni trees. Very beautiful, huge trees. The leaves look very palm-like, compounded, but they are not. They are 5 leaves coming from a simple stalk. But the flowers are the real beauty of it. It's very small flowers, very difficult to see. But again, they have a beautiful fragrance, and you pass by them, and you're sure, do I like them? Do I like this fragrance? Do I not like them? But they are there, and it's really, next slide. African tulip, again another tree right now in flower. I'm sure you can see them. These are also very planted a lot, intersplit between our copper pods, so they look really beautiful. The yellow spikes and the suddenly canopy filled with red flowers, tulip-like, really huge, and very, the bats love them. So, like gushing. This is another tree. And actually, the Horticulture Society of Public Gardens annually holds a prize-giving thing for the best gardens. So even the best home gardens of the city are given prizes. So one of the prize winners, the lady was being interviewed, was asked, you have a lovely garden, you won a first prize, and I'm surprised not to see a single tree in your garden. So she replied, oh, I don't like trees, they shed leaves. Really? I suppose she's never seen a Tabovia. If you are coming down from Vishwarya circle down towards IMAX Theatre or going back from this circle towards the Raj Bhavan Road and taking the Necklace Road, you cannot miss them when they are in flower. They shed all the leaves because they want to show off these beautiful flowers. These yellow trumpet flowers that come in clusters are definite traffic stoppers. You can't miss them. And the same sister one, the pink trumpet I was telling you about, which have all been chopped off under the police control room. Same sister tree. I mean, they're beautiful. But I suppose, next level. This above your area. Yes, yes, now you can see them there. And actually there was one more huge tree, one old one I had seen near Yashoda Hospital, but yesterday I noted even that has been cut down. Then this is the Amaltas, another very beautiful yellow tree. The flowers come down like chandeliers. The first time I saw this was on road number 12 opposite Elbit Hospital. Small tree, and then suddenly it had these lovely chandelier-like flowers. Didn't know whom to ask, where to ask, what tree was this? But now we are luckily fortunate, after the KBR has come up and the planting took place, in KBR has a whole stretch, even towards the Cancer Hospital side and towards Apollo Hospital side, KBR Park, you will find these trees in abundance. Yes, sir. Is it? Okay. Okay, during Onam time. It actually also grows wild in the... Okay. It flowers in September, okay. So, yeah.
It's not Onam, it's called Vishu.
The Vishu?
It's actually the state Malayalam calendar.
Okay. Okay, the Vishu, the New Year?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
The Malayalam New Year, Vishu, so that is when the flowers, sorry?
No, Onam's in September,
Yeah.
Vishu happens around April. Yeah.
It's a summer flowering tree, yes, it's a summer flowering tree. And actually it grows wild in the forest of the Maharashtra, Tadoba Andheri region also. This is another tree, actually not very commonly seen, but one of my favorite trees. See, the most difficult part of making this talk was choosing that list of trees, the trees I want to talk most about, and then pruning the list because it was getting too long, and I can ramble on, you know, so. And this Simil Bombax tree is one of my favorites. There's only one that I know of. It's in the public gardens, right opposite the entrance to the Nampally station. It's again a very beautiful tree. The flowers are really huge and they're waxy and red. And they have these huge cotton pods. And when they open up, you'll have cotton wafting down with the wind. And they do use it for quilts. Of course, the silk floss tree is much used in demand for filling up pillows, but this also does a fairly good job. But the flowers really make up for the poor quality of cotton it contains. Yeah, any last style. So you see, like I said, pruning the list was tough. There were so many more I wanted to add, the kadam tree and the bahunia, that is the camel foot tree, which is also quite evidently and in bloom right now. It's called the camel foot because the leaf resembles a camel's hoof. The flowers range from white to pink to purple, and they are really beautiful. And the tree down there is the purple Caribbean trumpets I was talking about. That's the lower tree. Thank you, especially staying down after your lunch. Thank you so much.